Here we are once again. It's fantastic to be back. The ultimate prize beckons, and your potential step into real-world motorsport in New Zealand. Live on NZ Sim Racing TV, it is the CareVets New Zealand Toyota 86E Cup, the first round of the finals here at the Bend. Over the next 4 weeks, drivers will be competing for some incredible prizes, including an entry to the CareVets Toyota 86 Scholarship Competition, which could give them the chance to kickstart their real-world racing career through the sim world. Bringing it to you live here is myself, Reese Gardner, with David Haynes alongside me in the commentary box, the crew at NZ Sim Racing TV behind the scenes, bringing you these live pictures. David, it's the start of the next running of this fantastic competition. We've seen some incredible drivers come through this in the past, including Antal Jabo, who is not competing this season. It'll be interesting to see who's going to take his place. We've got 3 races coming up here today, mirroring the race format for the real-world NZ Toyota 86 Championship. We will have a 13-lap first race, followed very closely by a 17-lap second race, the final race, only 10 laps in length. So we've got loads and loads of potential here for hard and fast racing in cars that are not as quick as some others, but certainly provide fantastic action all the way through. And that's the end of practice. It's time once more to grab our speed limiters and make sure we don't speed on the way out of the pits here in qualifying. Once again, 15 minutes ahead of us. This being a multi-race server, there will be a hard cut at the end of the session, so get out as early as you can. Make sure that you're starting your final lap with about a minute and a half to go in the session, just to be safe.
Everyone was in the train together. The times are all very, very similar. A 1 second will take you from about second place to about 18th place at the moment. So if there's more time to be found, you're going to need to find it and nail that perfect lap to separate yourself from the rest of the field. Because there are drivers that might have top 5 race pace and race craft that if they don't nail this qualifying session operationally, find themselves starting in the back half of the field.
Well, McIver, the rally competitor, is going to let a few drivers go here and pick up the slipstream again for another lap. He's really pulling behind quite a few cars here. It's difficult to find your way into the queue. You know, you want the slipstream off the car in front of you, but you don't want to be behind a driver who's off pace, because then that will compromise your lap. So keep an eye out for drivers just jostling around here when they're on cooldown laps before they attempt another. We have a couple of other drivers setting fast times there. Tim Sullivan in car 929 has gone fastest. Was only able to set a 27.9 in practice, but he's gone more than 3/10 faster on that one. Yes, so we'll see how much is gained here as we're back on board here with Josh Silcock in car 666. Got plenty of pace underneath him here. Remember, there's only 300ths between himself and McIver. So let's see if this situation in front of him is going to be an advantage or a disadvantage. Through the final corner, you see they're not using the brakes. It is just a slight lift, if that. The car in front of him going off, and well, he's going to miss out on a little bit of slipstream to the line as James McIver went off there. But next times are in, and it looks like they've all been compromised there, except for Louis Bell in car number 7, who's managed to break into the top 10.
Wilcox's time didn't count there. It was a 127.2, which would have put him pole by carry the 1 heaps, but the lap time didn't count.
Yeah, that's not ideal there for Josh Silcock. He unfortunately missed out on that opportunity. That's what I was talking about before. You know, if you're in a train like this, yes, you're getting the speed down the straights, but once you get to the corners, you're able to take them a little bit faster than everyone else, then you're just going to compromise yourself. So it is a real balancing act, isn't it, trying to negotiate qualifying at a track like this? Let's see if this is enough for Ewan Baker here, racing in VR, a Scotsman living in Dunedin. Let's see what he can do across the line. He makes 1 position improvement there into the top 10, and he may not be too happy with how his session's going. We are past the halfway point of qualifying now, and we're not seeing Baker set the lap times that he did in practice, so could be some issues for Ewan here. He's going to fall to the back of this train here as the Sigma Sim Sports pairing of Corey Croson and his teammate will find their way through turns 1 and 2. Bryce Harding is the car that is trailing. Now, Corey Croson is in 7th place and Bryce Harding down in 12th. The teammates trying to help each other out here. Corey giving his teammate the slipstream. Is it going to be enough to help out the both of them? Looks like he's just latching onto the slipstream of these cars in front.
Yeah, I'd almost want to start a lap, 7/10 behind someone and hope that I just gradually caught them over the lap rather than starting right underneath their rear wing and having nowhere to go. Hearing that in the case of Silcock, it might have been a tiny tap against another car that invalidated his otherwise very competitive lap time. So you can't bump draft in qualifying.
It's really good to see the level of competition here. 3 minutes to go in qualifying. If you start your lap now, then you'll probably get 1, maybe 2 more laps. There's a big improvement from Darren Lobb. He's made his way up into P11. And Graham Wall in the number 17 slots into 18th place on that most recent lap. We've seen a few drivers dip into pit lane as well, David, to get some refreshed tyres on their cars for one final run at pole. Right now is when you should be starting your final lap. So it looks like everyone on screen at the moment, this is going to be their final crossing of the line. And whatever time they set now, that's the one that's going to count for the race 1 grid. Let's find where they put themselves. Avon Dunn deciding to go for pit entry there. It appears that the run is done for quite a few drivers. Jamie Stovall and Paul Booth jumping into the lane, as well as Hayden Kirk and Ross Buchan. Tim Sullivan not able to reach the heights of his 127.5 there. He will remain in second for the moment. Ewan Baker across the line as well. He's only going to be 15th, and he's getting side by side with his fellow competitors there. Not ideal for the man who finished in the top 3 last season.
Yeah, so looking for anyone who's in the back half of the lap at the moment. So Josh Silcock might get around to complete this one. James Corbin might just run out of time. Seeing that Nico Cordia doesn't look like he's on a competitive lap and is about to finish up his qualifying. Billy Rowley manages a time improvement but not a position improvement in 26th. And with that just 10 seconds left, I don't think Corbin is going to make it.
Yeah, not ideal for James Corbin. 127.7 is the time that he originally set there, and it looks like he may have gotten an off track at the final corner there. Managed to almost get to the timing line, but that's going to be the end of qualifying. It's time for the grid for the first race today. 13 laps ahead of us, and Cooper Prout will be starting on pole position. He will have Tim Sullivan alongside him. Dylan Jordan, the highest of the KSR Speed Nation drivers, starting alongside James McIver. Down to the 1,000th between McIver and Louis Bell. Bell will round out the top 5, starting alongside Josh Silcock. It's James Corbin and Arthur Browen who start 7th and 8th. The top 10 rounded out by Avon Dunn and Bryce Harding.
The next row is Corey Croson and Darren Lobb as he moved up into 12th. Alex Sprague going to start from 13th with Mitchell Sparrow in 14th. Ewan Baker 15th place. Matt Priest in 16th. And Justin Davies 17th place. Graham Wall 18th. And in 19th is Ross Buchan, and Jamie Stovall is there in 20th.
Yeah, top 20 rounded out there. Scotty McQueen starting just outside it alongside Hayden Kirk. Row number 12, Henry Fires and Nico Cordier, with Paul Booth and Billy Rowley starting 25th and 26th. Last driver to set a qualifying time, Christopher Tipper, and that is the entire field of GR86 accounted for. Safety car, race control, and race steward are also in the session here. Potential for manual safety cars if needed. Of course, the drivers do need to ask permission to tow back to the pits in the race session, also in qualifying too. So it'll be interesting to see who gets through the first few turns cleanly. It's a nice wide front straight here at the bend, but plenty of opportunity to make positions up if you play your cards right. It all comes down to this, the first of 4 finals here for the Carevets New Zealand Toyota 86 E-Cup. Revs rise for the standing start. No traction control. Be careful how you get across the line. And away we go. Puffs of smoke everywhere. A solid start from our pole sitter, Cooper Prout. But have a look at Dylan Jordan. He is rocketing now past James McIver and Tim Sullivan. It's also a great start from Josh Silcock, who has the outside for turn 1. Prout will go defensive here versus the hard-charging Dylan Jordan. And it looks like second place will be more or less protected there from James McIver. It will be Prout leading the way out of turn 1, but he's immediately under pressure from everyone behind. Looked like a reasonably clean start from most of the field, but that's going to change right away there. Josh Silcock and Tim Sullivan coming together.
Weather conditions very similar to qualifying, just a little bit hotter as the sun's been out and baking the racetrack. A little bit of contact there as you saw. I think no traction control from a standing start actually helps you with how tall the first gear is on these cars. You can just slip that traction a little bit. Dramas at turn 8.
Oh, Mitchell Sparrow is around, so is Alex Sprague, and they will fall all the way to the back. That corner was always going to cause issues on lap 1. Just good to see that most of the drivers got through there cleanly. But Cooper Prout is starting to push here. He doesn't have long in this race to secure that win, but he's doing everything right at the moment. Now, though, they have to think about the slipstream. Cooper Prout doesn't have any advantage versus everyone behind him. The entirety of the top 6 covered by less than 2 seconds.
So a 1 kilometre long front straight here with the wind blowing 27 kilometres an hour right on the nose of the Toyota 86s. James McIver is going to close up big time in that slipstream, and it looks like we've got ourselves a bit of a top 6 forming. They're side by side for 11th, 12th, 13th and 14th as well. How about 3 wide underneath the bridge?
Oh yeah, look at that further back there. Josh Silcock in the middle of all of this is, looks like that might be Baker there, who's trying to get around the outside of turn 1. Cars off in the background there. Unsure exactly who got involved in that one, but it looks like Graham Wall is going to try his best to take advantage here and manages to get alongside Avon Dunn. Scotty McQueen in the black car with white rims is going to be looking to make his way a bit further up the field as well. Baker not entirely free of Silcock yet. They will be side by side into this tight right-hander. The shortcut to make the West layout what it is. Baker still has the inside there, but this side by side is really benefiting McQueen.
Oh, there's been a couple of nasty bits of contact on this lap too as well. So it was Sullivan diving down the inside of turn 1. Paul Booth's just got hot into turn 6 and turned a car or 2. And as that's all gone on, Ewan Baker and Josh Silcock still fighting absolutely ruthlessly. 3 wide behind them as well, coming into the penultimate corner.
Oh, just managing to avoid contact there. Good, clean racing here between Ewan Baker and Josh Silcock. Cooper Prout, for the meantime, manages to hold on to the lead, and we'll see what the fastest lap ends up being, because that's going to be into account for the fastest lap of the day. 128.0 currently the best from James McIver, who's the first to take advantage of the slipstream. Louis Bell has moved up into 4th place and is starting to put the pressure on Dylan Jordan as our top 2 try to skip away. So we'll be going in a moment to a replay of Mitchell Sparrow, who was one of the drivers who got involved at turn 6, I believe, on lap 1. The first driver that we really saw have big issues. Huge thanks to Cream Insurance on the replays again for this season. And man, it was almost 4 wide there for a second. I think with how much the track narrows up in that section, David, there was only one way that was going.
Yeah, about like that, unfortunately. It is the tightest corner on the racetrack. It's the little shortcut cut through to form the West layout. It's not part of the larger layouts here at the bend, so it is a little bit tighter, a little bit less runoff. quite interesting, though, for sure. With that powerful slipstream, the way these cars are racing, the way they're racing each other, we've got a couple of groups. And Davies in that next group of 4 just behind. And then we've seen exactly where 11th, 12th and that group have lost their time, with Baker and Silcock and McQueen and Hall and Dunn all fighting each other. Here's Louis Bell looking for a podium spot with a new fastest lap of the race.
Oh, good stuff from Louis Bell. Great pass. There was an attempt from James McIver there on Cooper Prout, but it's unsuccessful for the moment. Louis Bell is starting to carry some solid pace. 127.8 on that lap. He's playing this pretty well with the WKS Kart Store entry. And it looks like that's induced a bit of side-by-side behind Dylan Jordan, now trying to keep Arthur Brown behind us, who is our wildcard entry for today. We have real-life wildcards once more, thanks to Mark Mallard from Cream Insurance and the team at CareVets, choosing some real-world racers and sometimes past champions of the NZ Toyota 86E Cup to jump in and serve as a test bed for these drivers. Arthur is really pushing it here, but it looks like he's going to be the one at a disadvantage there, pushed slightly wide by James Corbin. We'll have the inside for the penultimate corner. But all of that little kerfuffle there is really made things interesting for the top 3. They don't have 4th, 5th and 6th to contend with anymore, and then James McIver takes point at the front of the field, makes the pass through the final corner, but I'm sure Cooper Prout is going to respond instantly.
Yeah, this top 3 were getting away, but then they start to battle like this side by side through turn 11, trying to break the toe down the front straight. James McIver we're taking a look at, and I think he's got Cooper Prout pushing him there as they head down towards turn 1. Louis Bell sees the door close in the middle there, and then he tries to jump down the inside, and your next 3 close in on the leaders. Again, it's looking like a leading 7. I think Bryce Harding's done a pretty good job to manage to catch this top 6. Catching the leading group is very impressive with how powerful the slipstream is for these cars with long straights and a headwind.
Yeah, comparing lap times, Harding's previous lap was a 128.4. That was faster than everyone ahead of him as they were fighting and trying to sort out their positions. It looks like a 10-second penalty being handed to Paul Booth, who's currently running in 24th, evidently involved in a problem on first lap, maybe one of the other opening laps. But yeah, Bryce Harding, 0.6 of a second faster than Corbin, and even faster than that compared to Brown, Jordan and Prout. Only other drivers in the 128s were our current top 2, James McIver and Louis Bell. Oh, a little bit off there from, looks like Arthur Brown. He's pushing hard there through the final corner. But it seems that James McIver, now that he's in the lead, now that Louis Bell's trying to deal with Cooper Prout, he's starting to skip away. 0.4 is the gap for the lead.
We're starting to get towards the halfway point of this first race, which is about the time to begin thinking about that invert top 10 for race 2. In this race 1, you absolutely want to be inside of the top 10 if you can.
Yes, that's one thing that I did forget to mention at the top of the show. Race 2 carries an inverted top 10, so whoever finishes 10th in this first race will be starting on pole for race 2. Currently, that's occupied by Darren Lobb, and now Josh Silcock, as it seems Lobb is falling down the order. Something's happened off screen there that we've missed. It looks like a spin in the opening turns. If there was contact involved or not, I guess we'll have to wait to find out.
Yeah, so Josh Silcock has moved into that hot seat of 10th place, and there definitely was some contact as that pack was battling over 10th and all of the other spots down the waterfall. Top 7 closing in, realistically only covered by about 2 seconds here for all of them. McIver for Bell, who's moved up in a second. Cooper Prout, pole sitter, now back into 3rd place. But the way that they're racing, the way that these cars tend to race at any circuit, I think being in 2nd or 3rd place with 1 or 2 laps to go is no big issue.
No, I don't think so. We'll keep our eyes peeled on the top 3 then. Louis Bell, former professional surfer, now racing in karts in the real world and evidently carrying a lot of that pace through to the sim world as well. He is under pressure for 2nd place as Cooper Prout tries to move up the inside here, coming into turn 1. Looks like James McIver gave him a little bit of slipstream there on the way into the braking zone. Prout is back past Bell, but one thing's for sure, this battle, the entire fight for the top 7 is completely up in the air. Whoever finishes at the back end of the top 10 is going to be up for debate as well. Justin Davies and Corey Croson are fighting hard for 8th, but Silcock sits in 10th, followed closely by Ewan Baker, Scotty McQueen, and Aben Dunn, 3 competitors who we'd expect to see in the top 10 on pace.
I borrowed a policeman's radar gun, safer communities together. James McIver leading the pack, 197 k's an hour at the end of the straight. Louis Bell in the double slipstream, 203. So easily 6 or 7 k's an hour worth of slipstream to be had at the end of the straight.
We're about to find out what happened to Darren Lobb. Currently runs in 15th place. The Cream Insurance replay will tell us the story of how he fell outside that key position in the top 10. It looks like he was very aggressive over the curbs in race 1, and oh dearie me, that looks like a bit of contact there from the car behind through turn 2. You know, those opening turns at the bend, it's very easy to actually make contact through there. The track's so wide and the line you take is so specific, it's any wonder there isn't more contact there. Looks like Cooper Proud's going to try and go for the race lead again here. Almost squeezed off the track there by James McIver. They will be side by side through turn 1. McIver carries a bit more pace and guards the lead very nicely. That little bit of side by side slows the both of them up, and Louis Bell is right there to take advantage. Prout wide through turn 3 as Dylan Jordan and Arthur Brown trade spots again for P4 behind. All it takes is a little bit of concertina and the race just goes off.
Great move, though, from Cooper Prout. He did a little bit of the Danny Ricciardo. He said, okay, I'll look around the outside if you're carrying the middle of the road. Jokes, I'm moving to the inside to try to, double bluff you on that one. So it was a very bold move down towards turn 1. Hasn't quite stuck, and like you say, it's brought the whole top 7 back together with Louis Bell still sitting in 3rd, Dylan Jordan in 4th. Bryce Harding, having joined this train in 7th, is still 7th.
Yeah, he might be waiting for an opportunity here in the final couple of laps. 5 to go when they cross the line next. The fight is still going on for 9th and 10th, and it seems like every time a driver occupies the 9th or 10th position, they are shuffled out somehow. Corey Croson is the driver in question there. Was in 8th, but now is getting a little involved with Aben Dunn just outside a shot. There's been a huge incident, by the way. James McIver is out of the race. I saw him slam into the wall at pit entry, and he went airborne. That is going to be worth a replay for sure. There's Dunn, stricken on the right side of screen behind the fence.
Yeah, so clearly some contact exiting the final corner. McIver's been shunted into the pit entry. He's received damage. He's received a black flag for speeding on pit lane, but I don't think he was trying to enter pit lane. No one should be in this race. So in the battle for the top 3 spots, there has been big contact. Cooper Prout now leads from Louis Bell, and Dylan Jordan is into the top 3.
It looks like a hardware failure for James McIver, and oh, that is heartbreaking. There is nothing worse as a sim driver than having your hardware let you down when you're in the lead of one of the biggest races of your life, and at the worst possible spot as well. He entered pit lane at 100 kilometers per hour. That's usual highway speed in Australia and New Zealand. This is what happened. Look for the jerk to the left there. That's his wheel failing, and unfortunately it put him on a trajectory to the attenuator.
Well, speed limit is 40 in the pit lane, so if you do 100 in a school zone, you're losing your license. But for McIver, you can see clearly his wheel's disconnected. It's defaulted to hard left and speared him into the wall, giving him big damage, basically taking him out of this race, almost certainly. And that is a tough pill to swallow, because then it also carries on to penalise him into race 2, into race 3.
Yeah, he's going to retire from this and start no higher than 26th, it appears, for race 2. Remember, it's only the top 10 that get inverted for the second race here. So now it's down to Cooper Prout and Louis Bell, but neither of them now have the fastest lap. Now belongs to Bryce Harding, who's brought it down to a 127.7. We need to keep our eyes out for who sets the fastest lap over the course of the entire day of racing. There is a prize up for the fastest lap of the round, a $40 voucher to the Manon Racing Products Sim Racing store. James Corbin sitting in P5 now. He's been lobbing his way up the field step by step, and now sees Arthur Brown driving away from him a little bit. He'll be hoping that there's some battling ahead and he can get back into it.
Thinking about that fastest lap, today's weather forecast is partly cloudy, but we haven't seen any of those clouds in this race one. So if we do get some of that partly cloudy come across the track in race 2 or race 3, that'll drop the track temperatures. Fastest lap of the day probably will happen in race 2 or 3 based on that.
Yeah, indeed. So potential for the lap times to come down here. Dylan Jordan now in the box seat to try and make a move on the top 2 here. If they go side by side through the opening turns like they are daring to do. Louis Bell versus Cooper Prout. And it looks like Prout will protect the lead for the moment. He'll have the apex for turn 3, but he needs to be careful to nail the power on the exit to stay ahead. Louis Bell is undoubtedly well aware of the power of the over-under, but both of them have been slowed up by that. Dylan Jordan and Arthur Brown now right on the back of them. There is Dylan Jordan as he now tries to find a bit of real estate here coming into turn 6. Around the outside of Louis Bell, it might just work, but no, the corner's too sharp to take the advantage around the outside.
Yeah, but around the left side's not bad when you come into this next sequence of left-handers. No one really wants to go around the outside of you through this particularly long one at the bottom of that little dip. And then you exit out of turn 10 flat out, looking towards a decent braking zone at turn 11 here. Your top 2 are just pulling a couple of car lengths, and I think Braun is aware of that and actually maybe just willing Dylan Jordan to close up a car length or 2 before he then tries to jump in for that 3rd spot.
Yeah, in a race like this, you know, it's the style of racing that these cars demand, right? Because you don't have much straight line speed or much power to really work with. So, oh dear, looks like that might be James McIver potentially that's still stricken in pit lane. But you know, you need to wait for your opportunity sometimes. You know, there's been some great racing over the course of this first race, but if you make the move too early, then it just opens you up to an attack back later on. It's going to be the final lap next lap, so now is the time you need to start drawing up to the rear of the car in front and preparing for when you make your move. Arthur Brown and James Corbin will go side by side here into turn 6, and Bryce Harding is keen to take advantage of that as Corbin will make a little bit of contact there with Brown, send him wide, but all's fair in tin tops there. Brown's going to respond up the inside as a look. That forces Corbin slightly wide, and this is not what any of these guys want. It's just costing them time to the top 4 ahead.
Looking like a little bit of a right of reply between those two, and exactly as they sort of lean on each other a little bit, they do let that top 3 begin to get away. They're going to see the white flag at the end of this one for one more 3.4 kilometer lap. I really think you want to be leading this as they exit turn 3. Cooper Prout leading us at the moment. Louis Bell right in that slipstream.
And looking to break it a bit is Cooper Prout. He wants to take first blood in the Cairvets NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup. Can he do it, or can the former professional surfer get alongside him and make the move? Nothing doing into turn 1. Prout carries the brakes a little bit deeper. That might have cost him a tiny bit of apex speed there. Harding and Brown continuing to battle for P5 behind these guys, and it looks like they've sorted themselves out. It is between the top 2 and no one else. But if they go side by side for more than a couple of corners here, Dylan Jordan will be right there to take advantage.
Thinking once again of who's in the hot seat of 10th place, there is a 6-way battle for 8th through to 13th. 3 of those drivers are going to rocket up the field for the grid of race 2. 3 of them will not receive the same luxury, so there's so many great battles to keep an eye on this final lap, and there's less than a car length in it for this race win.
Yep, a little bit unsettled through turn 6 was Cooper Prout, but he's keeping it smooth and controlled through the latter half of this lap. Now, does he go defensive into the penultimate turn? You can pick up a tiny bit of slipstream here. I don't think Bell is close enough to go for a move there, and that's the last real opportunity to make a move around the lap here. So with one corner to go, it looks like Prout might just have done it here. The first race down for the finals in the NZ Toyota 86E Cup, and it's going to be Cooper Prout who crosses the line and takes honours in race 1. Louis Bell, a fantastic second place, and Dylan Jordan rounding out the podium there. Solid racing between Arthur Brown and Bryce Harding behind. They crossed the line practically side by side, only 0.03 of a second separating them. And 10th place will go to Avon Dunn. He'll have pole for race 2.
Yeah, Scotty McQueen, Ewan Baker and Avon Dunn leading that little group. So Justin Davies is the driver who just misses out in 11th place. And we're seeing the rest of the field come around to close this one out too.
Goodness me, Billy
Rowley
Rowley.
will be the last one on the lead lap because Sprague's some laps down, and with the amount of damage James McIver sustained, he won't be getting back out there, obviously. No fast repair, and that thing took a gigantic hit.
Yeah, indeed. No fast repairs in this championship, so you get damage, and no matter how bad it is, you got to wait it out to get it repaired in the pits. And with races as short as we've got here, that is practically a death sentence for your entire round if you have a problem like that. So that's the first race done and dusted. Cooper Prout going to be taking the first victory here of the day, and an incredible drive it was indeed. He fought hard with Louis Bell there over the win. Dylan Jordan rounding out the podium with Corbin and Brown the top 5. Bryce Harding finishes in 6th. Josh Silcock, he managed to get his way into 7th. Scotty McQueen and Ewan Baker 8th and 9th, with Avon Dunn rounding out your top 10. Let's bring Cooper Prout in and have a chat to him. Thanks to Care Vets, the winner here live with us. Congratulations, Cooper. A fantastic race there in race 1. The slipstream was so important there. You really had to try and keep Bell behind you in those final laps.
Yeah, it was really great racing. Start to finish, it was everyone's with each other. Yeah, I couldn't thank anyone that ran this series enough. Great racing, obviously, with Louis, and yeah, looking forward to the next race.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's a track where you're experiencing quite a headwind down that front straight as well. So being in the lead is not quite the advantage that you'd like it to be. But you're going to be starting in 10th here for race 2. There's plenty of opportunities to tuck behind other cars and get that pace.
Yeah, definitely. The headwind into 1 definitely helps with a bit of slipstream, as we saw in race 1. But yeah, leading was quite hard. I was under quite a lot of pressure that whole race, and but was quite happy to be able to hold it off.
Well, pacey here at the first round. Do you think you'll be able to take more than 1 victory today?
I mean, we'll have to see how this race goes. Hopefully, yes, but we're just going to try and do our best for the rest of the championship.
Fantastic stuff, Cooper. Congratulations once again on the victory. Hopefully we're speaking to you again before the end of proceedings today. Get on the grid and give us a good race again.
Yeah, thank you, boys.
Cooper Prout there, the winner of race number 1 here at the Bend. The first round of the Care Vets NZ Toyota 86 Cup, and drivers are filing onto the grid at the moment. We'll have a quick run through of the top 10 just to refresh you. Once again, the top 10 inverted for race number 2 here. Avon Dunn has got pole position with Ewan Baker alongside, with Scotty McQueen starting in 3rd alongside Josh Silcock. Bryce Harding will round out the top 5, then Arthur Brown alongside to round out the top 6. James Corbin and Dylan Jordan on row number 4. And row number 5, it's our top 2 from race 1 inverted, Louis Bell and Cooper Prout. From there on, David, it's where they finished in race 1. So I think drivers like Justin Davies and Graham Wall are going to be taking huge advantage here with some fast drivers to slipstream off on the opening laps.
Yeah, 2 drivers that have made such amazing gains out of this format, though. Scotty McQueen started race 1 in 21st, raced to 8th, now starts this race in 3rd. So in the course of 13 laps, he's gone from 21st to third, shown he's got a lot of race pace and race craft, and now he starts up the pointy end for race 2. He can show us what he's got, and Ewan Baker similarly, from 15th on the grid into the top 10 in 9th to now start on the front row for this race 2. How ferocious it is with 27 Toyota 86s out there. If you can get into that top 10, get a little bit of clean air, not be caught up so much in the traffic and the biff and the barge. Now, if you can start in the top 10 and have a clean race 2 here, you can bag good points and then also still start in a great position for race 3.
Absolutely. This is going to be a clear setup for the season to come. The drivers that do well here in race 2. It's the longest race of the format at 17 laps before we go for an incredibly short sprint of only 10 laps for race number 3. So, Avon Dunn on the front row alongside Ewan Baker. It was a solid drive from Avon, was able to stay in touch with the likes of Baker and McQueen all the way through. Let's see if he can carry that here into turn 1. Baker and McQueen, two of the top competitors from previous seasons of this series. Let's see how they do here for the start of race 2. No smoke being thrown up there from Avon Dunn, but it turns out the lack of wheel spin means more traction. He's managed to stay level with Baker there off the start. A lot of jostling about in the mid-pack as they make their way into turn 1. It's going to be Dunn who leads the way. Cold tyres, be careful on the way in. And hard pressure from Josh Silcock there as he tries to make his way past Scotty McQueen. Louis Bell is shuffled back to P10 there. It appears that Cooper Prout crucially managed to get past him into the first couple of corners. Now Baker sees the opportunity to draw alongside Dunn. They will be side by side into turn 6.
Like where Baker's positioned here, because he's going to get the inside into that super tight turn 6 that they're approaching here. Be able to just squeeze Dunn a little bit out of room, and Silcock.
Oh, that's big from Josh Silcock, and Ewan Baker sent into a slide that compromised Avon Dunn, and Silcock somehow through the middle of a 3 wide gets to the lead of the race. Oh, spin behind.
Yeah.
Oh dear, Dylan Jordan, who got onto the podium in race 1, involved in that, and my God, we got a couple of drivers with heavy suspension damage, if not wheels being thrown off there. That was a mess in turn 7.
Yeah, Tipper McIver again, Stovall and Booth with damage, so it hasn't worked out in this race 2 for Stovall.
Yeah, hasn't worked out very well for quite a few drivers there on the first lap, but now the slipstream kicks in again down the front straight. Arthur Brown, he's quite familiar with running in P7. He's back there now for the start of race number 2. Got Louis Bell in front of him, Scotty McQueen behind, and McQueen having a little look up the inside, maybe half a defense there. Mitchell Sparrow, who we saw spinning in race 1, has managed to find his way back through to 9th, and Sparrow is, was one of the top competitors last season as well. With race 1 not going his way, he needs to get his season on track here in race 2. He's doing everything right so far.
The Silcock still leads after getting the elbows out here a lap ago as Baker and Dunn were battling, and they almost make a little bit of contact there again. Dunn in deep sees Bryce Harding move up and into a podium position.
Yeah, good advantage being taken there by Bryce Harding. Even Dunn a little deep and probably a little unsettled there after almost running into the back of Ewan Baker at turn 6. It looks like a pretty similar situation to the first race. We've got the first 12 cars or so breaking away from the rest of the field, and there's plenty of sub-battles to be had within these packs. Bryce Harding in the Sigma Sim Sports number 79 sees the chance for a race victory beckoning here early on, but looking at the pace that Silcock is carrying in the lead, it looks like they're going to have to put real work in to get past.
A sequential gearbox for these cars, so the ratios are pretty close once you're up at speed. Getting from that standing start though, the first gear is very tall, and you can see in the slipstream it's just going up through the gears down the front straight.
Back to Bryce Harding here under pressure from Avon Dunn. P4 at the moment, and well, for starting on pole, it's been a good drive from Avon Dunn to keep himself in this position. clearly has the pace to run with the top three there. Needs to get back in touch with Ewan Baker. See if he can get back past Harding at turn 6. It's defensive from the number 79. Leaves just enough room for Avon Dunn to take the racing line into the corner. And it doesn't look like he managed to compromise himself too much. He will defend third place for now. Ewan Baker starting to put in some serious pace through these corners, staying in touch nicely with Josh Silcock.
Yeah, that's important. 12 cars in this leading group, down to Matt Priest in 12th. Hello. Has he been asked to redress that, I think?
Potentially. I'm not entirely sure. It was an interesting way to take the lead. A little bit of biff and barge is something that we can come to expect from this style of racing, but potentially that is a redress there from Josh Silcock. So Ewan Baker leads across the line at the start of lap 4. Avon Dunn getting a little bit of side draft of Bryce Harding, will go for third coming into turn 1, and Josh Silcock is letting Ewan Baker know with that flash of the headlights he's not done in the battle for the lead. Side by side for third. Louis Bell took great advantage of side by side battling ahead of him in race 1. It looks like he's doing the same here.
Yeah, so that exit out of turn 3 is very important because, well, turn 4 and turn 5 exist on the map. They're absolutely flat out carrying your momentum all the way to the braking zone at turn 6, where some of the controversy and some of the contact has been. You've got a Roman box formation for Corbin, Braun, Sparrow and McQueen heading towards turn 6 as we cycle through the field. You've got 22 on track and running after the early chaos in race 2.
Yeah, unfortunately for James McIver, our early leader of the first race, as McQueen makes the move there on Cooper Prout, winner of race 1. McIver was also involved in the mess coming through turn 8, and so he's back in pit lane as well. Dylan Jordan, Jamie Stovall, Paul Booth and Christopher Tipper currently joining them in the pits as there's contact between McQueen and Prout. I wonder if the stewards are going to be taking a look at that one.
Well, McQueen ends up sideways and then ends up straightened out, and as he exits turn 12, I think the only damage would just be sliding the tyres and overheating them there. I thought he got dived a little bit late, who knows?
Yeah, it's very tempting to send one up the inside at the penultimate turn. Also at turn 1 as well. That's what Josh Silcock has just done there. Grabbing the lead off Ewan Baker as the three-way fight for third continuing behind. A lot of speed being carried into turn 3 there by Bryce Harding, but it's not enough to keep Avon Dunn behind. Let's see what Louis Bell decides to do here. I would expect Silcock and Baker to fly in formation out the front. They don't have to worry too much about pressure from the drivers behind. Bell is going to try and force 3 wide there into turn 6, but he realized pretty early on that there wasn't going to be a chance. Maybe he can get alongside Bryce Harding through turn 6 and 7. Just enough room being made. Little tap to the side. Fair enough. And he's going to try the over-under here. This is a good move here from Bell. Let's see if he can pull it off.
Just a tiny bit of contact. Exiting turn 10 there, flat out through turn 11, hardly a corner at all. To 11 here, the penultimate corner. In its ways, quite similar to turn 6, relatively sharp. Not a full hairpin, but almost.
Reminder in the bottom right of the screen, if you want to have a go at winning a pair of sim racing gloves from Speed Nation, cast your vote in the fan vote after this round has concluded. The NZ Sim Racing TV Facebook page will be throwing up a poll where you can vote for your favorite driver. The winning driver of that poll will get a pair of sim racing gloves and one lucky voter chosen at random. So get your votes in and get some good gear on your hands the next time you jump behind the wheel. Back to the battle then. Here with Louis Bell, he's actually been shuffled backwards a little bit. Not in terms of position, but he's certainly hanging off the back of Avon Dunn and Bryce Harding now. Potentially James Corbin and Mitchell Sparrow will have a few things to say about his position in the top 5.
Well, your race 1 winner, Cooper Prout, has just put in a new fastest lap of the race and of the round at a 1:27.5, so he's closing in on this group as well. He's not going to improve on this lap. There's way too much traffic as far as the fastest lap, but if he's careful, he can pick up a spot or 2.
Absolutely. Keep in mind, of course, Apex Lab as well, one of the major sponsors of this series. 10% off your first membership if you use promo code NZSRC at checkout on apexlab.co, apex-lab to be precise. Let's see, as we make our way to the final turn, what more of an answer Cooper Prout has to the drivers ahead of him. Up behind Arthur Brown, James Corbin not too far ahead either. It looks like Mitchell Sparrow's going to be under the most pressure of all here coming into turn 1 on this lap. This is the battle for 6th place. The top 5 have well and truly broken away now. Looks like a bit of bump drafting going off there between Sparrow and Corbin as the move to the inside from Cooper Prout. Room is given by Arthur Brown. Looks like Justin Davies, Matt Priest, Scotty McQueen and Alex Sprague are keen to join this battle too.
Some gravel and some marbles beginning to appear in a couple of places out there as well. Not particularly noticeable in race 1, but perhaps beginning to form, particularly in this longer race. Track temps up even higher. That sun is brutal. So the tyres might just begin to overheat a little bit towards the end of this long race. Something to be careful of, but you don't want to be giving up too much track position if you can hold on to it otherwise.
Yeah, it's a technical circuit, the Bend. In some ways, a driver's circuit as well, with a subtle amount of elevation change. But for the most part, it is an effectively brand new FIA Grade 2 venue. The surface is incredibly smooth, which means not much work to do in terms of suspension, but you've got to be incredibly careful of how much rotation you get through some of these corners. Ewan Baker has nailed the final turn, and as they start the 8th lap of this race, he's going to go for it on Josh Silcock, or is he? Bumps the rear bumper of our race leader, pulls out of the slipstream and goes for the move at turn 1. Avon Dunn trying to position his car the best to take advantage. Racing Line is going to get him the most pace here as the leaders go side by side. And it looks like Silcock is trying his hardest to defend as lapped car there. I believe Jamie Stovold letting our leaders go. Baker is ahead as they come into turn 5, but will Silcock have any response?
Well, I want to be on that side of the road if I'm Ewan Baker with the inside. Avon Dunn might make this things a little bit complicated and take away some of Silcock's avenues to defend.
Oh.
Baker just squeezes him out there just a tiny bit. A little cheeky, a little return to serve. Now he's got to hold on to the race lead through the left-handers.
Look at the run from Bryce Harding, meanwhile. He's gotten involved in all of this. So has Louis Bell. And 2 lots are side by side behind Ewan Baker. He'll be loving that in his rearview mirrors. It allows him to skip away now to almost half a second's lead, which in these cars, the field this close is effectively a country mile. Bell trying to make it P3 here as Silcock gives him the room through the final couple of corners. Bell will surely be ahead by the time they exit the final turn, but oh, it's so difficult out of that final turn to maintain momentum. I think Silcock's going to get him right back here.
Yeah, getting a little bit of a side draft here, but Bell's perhaps still within slipstream range of first and second, so this is side by side for 3rd place. And it is a top 6 at the moment. A little bit of shenanigans in the next pack have seen them drop further back.
Move there.
200 k's an hour, not bad.
Yeah, solid slipstream. It's a nice defense as well from Scotty McQueen, who's made his way back past Alex Sprague. Slightly wide in turn 3, though. Sometimes that's not the end of the world. You're able to straighten up the car a bit sooner and carry more speed out of the corner as a result. The battle for the lead is going off meanwhile. It's side by side for 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Ewan Baker under pressure from Avon Dunn, who briefly held the race lead through the opening turns. Louis Bell now facing off against Josh Silcock, who's trying to make a recovery, but Silcock is forced wide there. Mitchell Sparrow bumps his way past.
And Silcock forced so wide that he's cut enough of the track. It's given him a slowdown penalty as well. So he'll probably see this top 5 sail past if it doesn't clear quickly. Might even see the top 3 begin to sail away the way that this is going out.
Well, the top 3 line astern across the start-finish line. beginning of lap 12, and Avon Dunn once again in the slipstream of Ewan Baker. Is he going to try for the lead again in turn 1, or is he going to settle for the bump draft and reserve his pass for another opportunity? Louis Bell's not going to wait. There he goes up the inside, nearly gets into Baker. What a dive for second place. Worth noting that Louis Bell's probably lucky it worked out in his favor there, but still a great pass for the second position.
Camera looked a little bit frozen. That looks like it's probably Avon Dunn just before this session began, not racing right now, because he's in the heat of the action in third place. They do need to be just a little wary of Sparrow, Harding and Silcock closing them in again as Ewan Baker leads this group. Again, one of the drivers that made really great use of that top 10 invert. And you can see the experience that he's brought to the wheel-to-wheel racing, to the racecraft, to the chess of it rather than the athletics of it.
Yes, it is a chess game, especially in the slightly longer races. Top 6 is back together, and now the advantage in the slipstream is brought back to everyone behind Ewan Baker. Need to keep an eye out for Arthur Brown, Cooper Prout and James Corbin as well. They're not too far behind these guys. A couple more side-by-side moments, a little bit more slowing up, and they'll be right on the back there. This is a great fight here for P11. We have McQueen ahead there with Matt Priest, Alex Sprague, Darren Lobb and Ross Buchan all there and trying to find their way forward. They're going to have to hope for something to happen ahead for them to get a good points finish out of this one. But every single race counts properly for points. Buchan is not able to get up the inside into turn 1, but that's a lot of curb usage there from Darren Lobb up ahead. He's certainly not afraid to take a lot out of these apexes.
For this turn 6, Sprague dropping down some spots on the timing. Technical issues?
Yep, technical problem there for Alex Sprague. He's disappeared off the circuit. Hopefully his internet gets back sorted and he can at least see the checkered, but that's another terrible issue that can befall you if you're a sim racer. Sprague reappears, but oh dear, that's bad there. Silcock and Harding contact in the penultimate corner, and Harding gets rolling just in time for McQueen, Priest, Lobb, Sprague and Buchan to arrive on the scene there. Harding drops back outside the top 10, and a strong race for him so far. Encounters an incredible bump in the road.
They begin lap 14 and suddenly there's just 4 cars in the leading group, looking at Baker, Bell, Dunn and Sparrow, because 5th and 6th had come together. Now it's Cooper Prout up into 5th and Arthur Brown up into 6th. And as that group begins to battle, no longer are they closing in on the leading pack and on the podium positions.
Indeed, a big chance for Louis Bell here, but also a big chance for Ewan Baker in the lead. Remember, Baker, as he has to prepare for a potential lunge from Bell alongside in turn 6. Baker was top 3 in last season's run here, but things are going wrong for our leaders. Oh, Avon Dunn gets involved as well. That's a big slow up. Dunn gets away from it and is a runaway leader now as Cooper Prout and Arthur Brown can get into those last couple of podium positions. Big dramas in race 2.
Looks like Bell's the driver who's ended up with the most damage, and all of your top 4 either spin or collect each other, and now Bell's off the road and he is parking it. Avon Dunn leads. Cooper Prout's come through in a 2nd place. It didn't need to happen like that, but just a tiny bit of contact between 1st and 2nd, and the marbles spill everywhere.
That they do. Louis Bell was trying desperately to get it done on Ewan Baker, but was probably expecting Baker to give him a little bit more room on the right-hand side, and has resulted in damage for our former top 4. Amazing to see how things can change in the blink of an eye. So Louis Bell in the pits, Dylan Jordan still out as well as James McIver. The other drivers that were in the pits earlier have managed to get back out there, fortunately. So Stove Oldenbooth will at least see the checkered flag, but we have still lost 4 of our competitors thus far in this race, and Avon Dunn leading by 0.7 of a second, but Cooper Prout sees another race win beckon for him in the Automoves Racing number 10. Can Arthur Brown throw his own spanner into these works? Promising indeed. Avon Dunn with the big disadvantage here. Once again, punching the hole through the air for everyone else. Josh Silcock now trying to make up some positions here. He's been on the back foot for a lot of this race, but maybe he'll have the chance here in the slipstream of James Corbin. 2 laps to go in race number 2 at the Bend. And they have the slightly damaged Mitchell Sparrow up ahead of them as well. Silcock using a very similar driving position and style to the real-world Toyota GR86. Sequential stick to his right-hand side. He's making good use of it here. Great run through turn 3 and excellent traction on the way out, but is it enough to get past Corbin?
Formula-style seating position rigs are way overrated. This is the way to go. He's putting it to good effect. He was leading this race, of course, at one point. I think had to redress the lead position, ended up a little bit further down with the contact and the slowdown penalty that he then later had. Cooper Prout is looking for that race lead, and it could be anyone on the podium at the end of this.
Yeah, snuck up the inside of Avon Dunn at turn 7, but he gets shuffled with a bit of contact out of the way there, and Arthur Brown moves into 2nd place. Our wildcard driver for this round, you can tell by the white windscreen banner, just for your information. Let's see what he can do. Can he take a win on the road? Worth pointing out that wildcard drivers are not eligible for full championship points. They will be excluded from the results thereafter. So effectively, Cooper Prout is still in 2nd for the points, but maybe Arthur Brown can help him forward a little bit for another run at Avon Dunn. The final lap begins and Prout moves up the inside there. Oh, where do you go if you're Avon Dunn? In the middle has to be the way to go. 3 wide in turn 1, and he gets pincer moved, and there's a bit of contact there. Arthur Brown sent sprawling across the track, and somehow they all managed to get out of that one cleanly. Sparrow has moved into 2nd, and Corbin now sits 3rd.
Dunn just getting sandwiched and then spun the wrong direction to be able to recover it easily. It's great for Cooper Prout. He's got a couple of car lengths. The Sparrow's now up into 2nd. It's not over yet.
Certainly not. Into turn 6 then, the big braking zone here outside of turn 1, and Avon Dunn still fighting with Brown there side by side. Ewan Baker's made his way back into the top 5. Is there going to be a chance for him to get onto the podium in these final couple of corners? All it takes is one mistake from the drivers ahead of him and he'll be right there. Corbin, it looks like, has lost touch with Cooper Prout now. All he can do is try to find his way past Mitchell Sparrow. Josh Silcock trying for a podium here. Can he get it done? Cooper Prout has no pressure behind him here. Over a second in the lead now, out of the final corner. And he is going to take 2 from 2 today at the Bend. It's side by side for 2nd. Sparrow, it looks like, is just going to beat Corbin to the line. 500ths in it.
Looked like Sparrow had a tiny bit of damage on his car, but still managed to hold on to that 2nd place with Corbin in 3rd. Rest of the field coming around to complete this race too. It looks like we'll have 21 Toyota 86s on the lead lap. Quite a few with damage, and Hayden Kirk will be the last on the lead lap. Louis Bell was our retirement after 14 laps.
Wow, what a race. And that is exactly why I love coming back to this series. Hard Charger award potentially in one hand there for Mitchell Sparrow. He gained 13 positions in that race. So a really excellent run from everybody there in the top 5 to get things done. Cooper Prout wins for the 2nd time today, with Mitchell Sparrow and James Corbin joining him on the podium. Josh Silcock is going to finish in 4th place, with Ewan Baker and Arthur Brown rounding out your top 6. Avon Dunn led the race for quite some time, but that contact in the last couple of laps, unfortunately, putting him down to 7th. He does still finish ahead of Scotty McQueen, Bryce Harding and Darren Lobb.
11th place was Alex Sprague, and then Matt Priest, Ross Buchan, Justin Davies, Graham Wall, Corey Crossan, Henry Fires, Nico Cordia, Billy Rowley, and Tim Sullivan in 20th.
21st place was Hayden Kirk, the last driver to finish on the lead lap. It was a tough race for him, but it was tougher still for Louis Bell, who was fighting for the lead and unfortunately 3 laps down with damage, has to settle for 22nd. Jamie Stovall and Paul Booth were able to make it back out onto the circuit after their crashes early on, 5 and 6 laps down respectively. MacIver, Tipper and Jordan were not able to make it to the end, which is a real shame considering the pace that MacIver and Jordan in particular were able to carry there. So after the conclusion of race 2, we have now James Corbin joining us in the commentary box. Let's give a big hand to the driver who finished 3rd in race 2. James, you've been right in the thick of it all day thus far. A 4th and a 3rd, a good set of results. So let's see what race 3 ends up bringing.
Yes. Yeah, I hope it's as clean as it has been in race 1 and race 2, because it can get a bit gnarly out there, and I'm just trying to stay out of trouble, because it seems like if you go for a move, you can actually lose a lot of time, or it just ends in chaos. So I'm just trying to hang back and hopefully just drive a clean race, so then I can move up the positions, because that happened in race 2 and in race 1. So yeah, it's been good. But my heart rate's high. It's in the 120s according to my watch. Yeah, getting a workout in here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm sure that you're going to be enjoying the quick rest and the warm-up. But before we let you go, just a question about how you're handling the track here. It's an interesting layout of the bend. Hard braking zone at turn 6, which is where we've been seeing most of the incidents today. What are your main observations to take out of how the track is evolving over the course of the day as well?
Yeah, for me, I think you can definitely tell with the setup especially, it's a little bit understeery, and if you go really hard on the brakes and start turning in while you're hard on the brakes, you can really overheat the fronts. So for turn 6 especially and turn 1, you can start to lose a lot of time if you brake a little bit too late. So you just got to manage that pretty well and try relax when you're trying to go forward. Yeah.
Well, a podium finish thus far this round, and with the finish of race 2 carrying over to the grid positions for race 3, you're in the box seat to be battling for the lead once again. James, thanks for joining us and best of luck.
Thank you. Awesome. Have a good night.
James Corbin there, driving very well thus far today. One of the drivers that's kept it the cleanest as we find our way to the short break that we take here before the start of race 3. You're on NZ Sim Racing TV watching the CareVets NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup. 2 exciting races down and dusted. It is time for race number 3 here at the Bend for round 1 of the CareVets NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup. Young Cooper Prout starting on the front row after winning the first 2 races. Got a solid grid alongside him there with Mitchell Sparrow alongside him on the front row. Corbin and Silcock on row 2. Ewan Baker and Arthur Brown in 5th and 6th. Avon Dunn starting in P7 alongside Scotty McQueen, with Bryce Harding and Darren Lobb rounding out the top 10. Reese Gardner here alongside David Haynes, who's starting outside the top 10, David.
Well, Alex Sprague is going to start from 11th with Matt Priest in 12th, and then Ross Buchan in 13th. Justin Davies in 14th position. Graham Wall and Corey Crossan on the next row of the grid for the final race of the round. Henry Fires in 17th, Nico Cordia in 18th, Billy Rowley in 19th, and Tim Sullivan in 20th. It's behind them that we begin to find a lot of the DNFs from race 2.
Yes, Hayden Kirk starts from 21st alongside Louis Bell, who managed to finish 2nd in race 1. He'll be fighting hard through the field there. Jamie Stovall and Paul Booth, 23rd and 24th. In 25th place, James MacIver. Hardware issues taking him out of race 1, and he didn't have much of a better race in race 2, but he is fast, so look for him to move forward, starting alongside Christopher Tipper. Dylan Jordan, the last of our cars to start this race, and he's got great potential for a podium as well, has already gotten one in the first race today. So fast drivers making their way from further back in the field, but Cooper Prout carries the biggest advantage of all, and he may very well be the championship leader coming out of the first round of the finals here, taking place over the next 4 weeks. Revs rise, and it's time for the short sprint of 10 laps for the final race of the day. We are away. And it's a lot of smoke being thrown up there by Cooper Prout, but it seems that he's translated that into a fantastic start. Immediately moving out of the slipstream as Mitchell Sparrow and James Corbin fight over second place. Into turn 1 they come for the first time in this final race, and that's a huge move there by Mitchell Sparrow to keep second place off James Corbin. It's side by side again behind with Arthur Brown and Josh Silcock fighting over P4. Who's going to come out of this the best?
Like 26 drivers have started the final race. Nick Accordia with a penalty for jumping the start there. Did not get the great start that Cooper Prout did, keeping the revs up in the tall first gear in the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder.
Yeah, it's a horizontally opposed 4-cylinder in these cars with some Subaru-based tech there. Ewan Baker at the moment fighting hard with Scotty McQueen and Darren Lobb, 3 drivers that have been here for every season so far, and we'll be looking hard to see whether these guys make their way up. Josh Silcock is finding himself in P5. Arthur Brown making his way past both Silcock and Baker on the opening lap, but Silcock's going to try and get one back here at the penultimate turn. Room is given to the inside from the wildcard entry, but Silcock is not able to take advantage into the last couple of corners. Cooper Prout starting to run away with it out the front. The gap for the lead, 7/10 at the end of lap 1.
Do you think Josh Silcock and Ewan Baker will be giving each other Christmas cards at the end of this year?
Probably not, with the way things are going. Still early days, though. It's only February. Things can change. It looks like 4 wide here for 6th place. Scotty McQueen trying his best to hold on to it. And oh, there goes Silcock off the road at turn 1. Fortunately, the tarmac runoff allows him to rejoin pretty quickly. But Darren Lobb and Scotty McQueen take point in the battle for the top 5 here. Bryce Harding makes his way past Ewan Baker in the process. It's already going off here, and the top 4 are streaking away.
Cooper Prout heading towards the possibility of a complete clean sweep of the bend. He was top of qualifying, so he started race 1 from pole position that he won. The reverse grid sent him back to 10th for race 2. He came through to win that one, and now he leads race 3 as there's been a bit of drama elsewhere. Darren Lobb's been around. Billy Rowley has also copped some damage.
Yeah, looks like Darren Lobb, unfortunately, made a solo error. He took way too much curb on the inside of turn 6, and the weight transfer basically took him into a spin. So he's back down in 22nd now, managing to just defend from Jamie Stovald. Move back up to the battle for the top 5 then. Scotty McQueen and Bryce Harding now both up 3 positions and looking to give chase to Arthur Brown and James Corbin for the last spot on the podium.
So just a quick 10 laps here to get your business sorted out. Prout and Sparrow leading the way as Sparrow sets the new fastest lap of the race here. That's the kind of pace first and second have got as we saw all this shenanigans, 2 wide, 3 wide, 4 wide from the drivers behind. Eventually, they'll begin to form up a little bit closer, maybe, as Davies loses out to Ewan Baker, who's just up the road from him, battling with McQueen.
Nice exit, and it looks like we're going to be seeing the 39 there of Avon Dunn trying to settle a score here. Remember, Avon's been carrying a lot of pace thus far this round, but his results haven't quite reflected that. He's been involved in the battle for the lead more often than not, but sometimes small errors and getting involved in battles have really cost him. The only results he has so far are a 10th and a 7th out of this, and it looks like he'll be battling at the tail end of the top 10 again for the time being, at least if he can't get free of this huge fight that stretches down to P14.
Aim camera again for Dunn there. That one's been frozen for a little while.
I think he's just controlling the car with his mind at this point.
A few people that will be a little more unhappy in their mind. Graham Wall, James McIver, Christopher Tipper. There's been a few incidents on this lap a bit deeper in the field. We begin lap 3. Scotty McQueen picking up a spot by the looks of things. And it is a bit cooler out on track right now than it has been in the first 2 races. Let's see if someone can get a really hot lap in the final time of asking.
Yeah, the current fastest lap of the entire round so far is Cooper Prout's honour to take. Remember, a $40 Manon Racing Products Sim Racing store voucher up for grabs for the driver that can set the fastest lap in the races today. Hayden Kirk, we focus on for a moment in P17 as Mitchell Sparrow goes for it on Cooper Prout, and the lead is his for the moment, but Prout has already won 2 races today. He knows how to get back there. I was mentioning Kirk because, you know, I saw James McIver in pit lane. It turns out that McIver, Louis Bell, and Hayden Kirk were all involved in an incident out of turn 6 on lap 3. Far from ideal, all 3 drivers with issues from that, but it seems that Kirk got out of it the best. At least he is still rolling, as well as Louis Bell, but James McIver unfortunately retiring. It's such a shame for McIver. He could have been up here with these guys the whole way, but it looks like the hardware failure in race 1 was just the start of his woes.
Yeah, when things are going well for you, they're going well for you. And then when you're down the back of the field, having to race hard to make spots, it can be very, very tough. James Corbin needs to be bringing his A game right now from 3rd place, because I see Cooper Prout pushing Mitchell Sparrow along, trying to break that gap and break this open for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a solid fight between these two. Arthur Browen in the wildcard entry, still sitting pretty in 4th. McQueen still going wheel to wheel for positions here with Bryce Harding. And Ewan Baker sees the opportunity. The curb gives him just a little bit more width there, and it's 3 wide coming into turn 5. Baker wants to stay on the right side of the track because that'll give him the inside line into turn 6. Can he get both Harding and McQueen in a 2-for-1 here at the slowest corner on the track? It looks like he can. Fantastic move.
Yeah, beautiful. That turn 5 is flat out in these cars, but I don't know if it's flat out when you're 3 wide. Apparently, maybe somehow, and then the inside for a super tight corner. Ewan Baker claimed the high ground, and he ends up into 5th place.
Good stuff. That's a good recovery, actually, from Ewan Baker. Remember, he started this race in 5th, so he's effectively worked his way back to his starting position and can now start looking eyes forward. At least he'll be hoping that's the case. Scotty McQueen was gone wheel to wheel with Ewan Baker so many times in previous runnings of the NZ Toyota 86 E-Cup. They'll be well familiar with each other by now. Let's see what McQueen can do here in the slipstream of the KSR Speed Nation. Number 34. See the gap there to the top 4. It's really extended out now. It looks like around about 3 seconds that these guys have to make up. Oh,
Sullivan.
Spin on the straight.
Yeah, there's a few meatballs out there for Billy Rowley, for James McIver, but none for Tim Sullivan. Didn't hit any of the walls. Very well controlled and very lucky there, but a scary spin. So now, with 4 laps to go, your top 4 are closing in together, and Cooper Prout is going for the race lead. He sat behind Sparrow for a lap or 2, but he won't now because Corbin and Braun are catching. Baker and McQueen have been battling over 5th. They went side by side through turn 6 last lap as well. So it's going to be action aplenty all the way to the end of today's racing.
Mitchell Sparrow gets back into the lead at turn 3. He played that very well. A lot of experience in the hands of the number 71 entry. But it's not over yet. The top 4 have well and truly closed up now. What does James Corbin do in all of this? Where does he put himself? Is there a gap in the middle he can somehow throw himself into? It looks like the defense for the lead from Mitchell Sparrow is successful, but Corbin succeeds in getting past Prout. He played that well.
Yeah, wow, just managed to split that middle, and whoever's on the inside seems to win, and then if you're in the middle, you get to pass whoever's on the outside, and that's where Prout ended up stuck. So despite his prodigious pace, the racecraft just let him down a tiny bit there on the way into turn 6, but you've got to play the percentages now in his shoes, so a 3rd place would be no shame.
No, certainly not. There's an attempt for the lead from James Corbin. And while he was telling us his heart rate earlier, I'm sure it's going to be approaching the 130s, maybe the 140s here, with Prout getting a better exit out of the final corner. But Prout's been a fan of the bump draft thus far tonight. It looks like he's employing the same here with Corbin to catch back up to Mitchell Sparrow all the way to the right-hand side of the start-finish straight. And Corbin is the first to move back to the racing line. Sparrow's going to have to defend for his life here. 3 laps to go, and he keeps the lead. But for how long?
Ridiculous stuff for this top 4. You cannot race any closer than they are right now. And still 2 laps to go to ratchet up the intensity. Sparrow's going to lead them towards turn 6. And I'm sure he's going to have to cover that inside, because you've seen some really ambitious moves on a really tight line still be able to be pulled off.
Move to the outside line. James Corbin very late on the brakes. Is there enough space for him to get the traction around the outside in turn 6? There is. He'll stay alongside Mitchell Sparrow and go for it at turn 8. But there's contact between the leaders. They're both sent wide. Cooper Prout and Arthur Brown take advantage, and Prout is back to the lead.
Told you they couldn't race any closer, because once they're touching, they can't get any closer. Prout leading Corbin from Brown and Sparrow. Look how much closer Ewan Baker has got in 5th place as they keep this up and they keep dive bombing each other.
Oh dear, they're only costing each other time at this point. Look, it is a shorter race, and so you're going to be racing a bit harder, but you still need to be aware of the cars behind trying to take advantage. Ewan Baker, Scotty McQueen, Bryce Harding, and Justin Davies are now on the back of this pack, and it's going to be an 8-way battle for the leaders. They're 3 wide for the win. Who's going to get it here? Mitchell Sparrow is going to give a bump draft to Arthur Brown, and they're going to try to take the top 2 into turn 1, but Corbin is the spanner in the works. Contact for 2nd place, and somehow through all of that, Corbin stays in 2nd. Oh, big oversteer there. Looked like there might have been a slight bit of contact between our leaders.
Ewan Baker went in trying to steam around the outside of turn 3, found those marbles, and then he pushes McQueen into the dirt. Expect a return to serve coming into turn 6 as Arthur Braun leads us.
What a fantastic race this is turning into. On the brakes, who gets the best run into the corner? Sparrow up the inside of Brown, contact, and Brown is sent beyond the limits of the racetrack. There's only 1 lap to go after this. Side by side again for 2nd. They'll push each other into turn 8 as Arthur Brown runs away with it. But don't forget, Brown is a wildcard driver, so these guys are effectively battling for the race win here. It is 7 drivers involved in this incredible fight.
Could be anyone's in this top 8. Expect them to lean on each other. Expect more dive bomb.
But great response from James Corbin. He gets back alongside. Ewan Baker's going to make it 3 wide into the final turn. There's still a lap to go, boys. Let's calm things down here. White flag is out. And my goodness, I have no idea who's going to get the major points out of this final race.
4 lanes in effect for 2nd place. Who's got the most momentum? I think Sparrow's being pushed by Prout, so it's a little bit of a return of favours from earlier.
Mitchell Sparrow also a wild card as this contact there. Bryce Harding is around and Scotty McQueen has gone with him. So though we have our wildcard entries in the top 2 positions, they will not get the points for that. It is between James Corbin and Cooper Prout for the effective race win here. Who's going to get it done? This is the big question. Justin Davies in there, up 9 positions so far. Ewan Baker down 1. Matt Priest up 5. My God, James Corbin completely sideways into turn 6. He tries to get it going, but he spins it around. That brings Cooper Prout into the effective race lead at the moment as Mitchell Sparrow's going to try and keep them behind. It all went off in turn 6, and fair play to James Corbin. He tried his hardest, but ultimately slight bit of contact in the braking zone, and that was all she wrote. Up ahead, Arthur Brown is going to take victory here on the road in the final race of the day. A fantastic drive from the man from Blenheim. He'll find his way to victory on the road. Will not get the points for it, though. Gap for the lead is 2.5 seconds. Mitchell Sparrow going to take 2nd with Cooper Prout finishing 3rd on the road today. Ewan Baker, Justin Davies, Matt Priest, Scotty McQueen, all within half a second. The 2 wildcard entries there make your top 2, but the effective race win will go to Cooper Prout there, 2/10 ahead of Ewan Baker. Justin Davies effective 3rd, with Matt Priest, Scotty McQueen, Avon Dunn, Josh Silcock and Bryce Harding rounding out the top 10 on track. Hayden Kirk and James McIver. McIver down there with Billy Rowley as well. Really rough time from a few drivers who we expected to be well up the front today. And with all of that, Cooper Prout, by virtue of effectively winning all 3 races today, is your championship leader by a long way. Arthur Brown and Mitchell Sparrow 2nd and 3rd, with Ewan Baker and James Corbin rounding out your top 5. Silcock, McQueen, Dunn, Harding and Davies are your championship top 10 coming into the second round, which will be taking place in a week's time. But when we get into this area of the field, David, we see quite a few drivers who will be wanting a little more fortune come next week's racing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we had all of that contact that happened in race 2, and then that put some really good drivers on the back foot into race 3 as well. So there's some drivers that could have featured at the very pointy end across 3 races that only really managed it in 1. And it sets up, therefore, an opportunity for them to maybe move back up through those standings in the coming rounds.
That is the name of the game. So first driver to join us today in the final post-race interviews will be Mitchell Sparrow, who managed to grab 2 podiums today, 2 second places in races 2 and 3. You must be happy with how things have gone today, Mitchell. There was hard racing all the way through that.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with the way it ended. Obviously, I struggled in qualifying. I've been away actually down south working in the GR86 Championship. So yeah, I haven't been on the sim bugger all. Luckily enough, was invited to come and have a bash around, and went pretty good last season. And yeah, so once I got the rust all off myself and kind of got back into a rhythm, I was pretty fast, and it's pretty funny. You know, me and Arthur have been away for 2 weeks and come back, and we go 1-2 in the last race, and it's awesome. We get to work together down south and to jump on the sim on a Wednesday night and bash around with each other and show everyone how it's done. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, indeed it is. You know, a lot of great racing to come here. This format really produces some fantastic racing, but where do you see yourself over the next few rounds of the finals? Now that you're back into it, do you think you'll be able to carry yourself forward to getting a win or 2 on the way, maybe more?
I'd love to say yes. I have no clue where we're racing. I didn't know anything about tonight, didn't know the format or anything. So to be fair, now that I know the format and I've kind of figured it out, I think there's no reason why we can't, like me and myself, Arthur, can't go and win most races for the rest of the championship.
All right. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Mitchell. We appreciate you jumping in here for a chat with us, and here's hoping we're talking to you again multiple times over the next rounds of this championship.
Yeah, just hopefully I'll be back in here chatting up with you guys. But big thanks to my sponsors. They know who it is. They let me go and do my real life racing. Big thanks to Arthur. Obviously, pretty cool to be able to do this with a good mate of mine, and hopefully we can get a couple of the other GR boys throughout the season to jump on the sim and run it in with these guys that think they could beat them.
Absolutely. Mitchell Sparrow there, 2nd place in races 2 and 3 today. Appreciate him coming on board here. And we can bring Cooper Prout back in here because he has the fastest lap of the round. David stood by with Cooper for that.
No doubt 3 really exciting races for you and working really hard in the final one, Cooper.
Yeah, that was really hard. That was really close racing. It felt like those 10 laps were a lot longer than 10 laps, to be honest.
And it sounds like you've come away with the fastest lap of the round, setting it in race 2. When the slipstream's as powerful as it is, when we're racing, pack racing like we are, how difficult is it to set a magic number lap time?
Yeah, that was really hard. I just had most of my head down to try and catch back up to the pack. But yeah, it was just really close racing, and obviously that huge slipstream that we get down into T1 is quite helpful.
And when it came to trying to make that whitewash happen, it didn't quite stick, but you were in the conversation for the race win in round 3. It must make you really positive about this championship and what you can do going forward.
Yeah, just thanks to all the boys that helped, all the setup makers, Auto Moves, Dylan Cole, Jordan, all the boys that run it, Apex Labs, SimBlack, SimRap Market, Moto Tribe, and all the boys that help us back it there. But yeah, feeling very confident going into the rest of the rounds. Just felt really fast the whole time, but obviously that played out pretty well, but we'll see how the rest of it goes.
There's jeopardy at every turn in this style of racing, but you lead the championship, and we look forward to seeing what you can do going forward. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, boys.
Cooper Prout there, not just taking the majority of the wins today, but also with the fastest lap of the whole round. He will nab himself a $40 voucher to the Mannon Racing Products Sim Racing store as a result. And we don't have him here for a chat, but Alex Sprague is the winner of the Biggest Mover Award thanks to Apex Lab. We're going to be seeing that one Hard Charger Award, a 1-month subscription to the Apex Lab Sim Engineering and Driver Training Service. So big congratulations to Alex. He is obviously going to enjoy that, and we thank Apex Lab and all the other sponsors of the championship for providing these fantastic prizes. With all of that, it would appear that we have the end of the round now. And David, what a setup for the season to come. Really looking forward to seeing what this championship brings.
Yeah, we've just seen how outrageously competitive it is. 27 really, really quality drivers battling so closely. It takes every element of a driver's skill and talent. It's about hot lapping in qualifying, but it's also about traffic management in qualifying. It's about when you make the moves and when you wait, and judging where the best places to overtake are and who'll help you, who you need to defend against across the 3 races, maximizing points across the format. It is no one characteristic of a good driver that is going to let you win this championship. You need all of it and your wits about you at every single opportunity through every race.
You do indeed. Well, the series is far from over in this this finals stage for the CareVets NZ Toyota 86E Cup. Next week, we will be racing at Circuit Zolder for the 2nd round. Same time, same place here on NZ Sim Racing TV. Reminder to everybody on the socials, after this race on the NZ Sim Racing TV Facebook page, you'll be able to vote for your driver of the round. You may enter the draw to get a pair of Speed Nation Sim Racing gloves, and the winning driver of the poll will also get the same prize. So if you want to go out winning a pair of Sim Racing gloves, thanks to Speed Nation, get your vote in on the NZ Sim Racing TV Facebook page. Huge appreciation to all of our sponsors, Apex Lab, NZ Sim Racing TV, Speed Nation, Mannon Racing Products, Cream Insurance, and CareVets. One more reminder of the Apex Lab promo we have. Use promo code NZSRC on apex-lab.co for 10% off your first membership. I'm Reese Gardner, David Haynes alongside me. Thanks to the NZ Sim Racing Collective for putting this series on and bringing us on board to bring it to you here on NZ Sim Racing TV. The New Zealand Toyota 86E Cup presented by CareVets. My goodness, what a series we have ahead of us. We will see you next week and see if Cooper Prout will be able to extend his championship lead.